Life in the South during the 18 and 1900s. Farming. The great soil and climate of the South made growing crops such as tobacco and cotton ideal for large-scale farms and plantations. 80% of labor force worked on a farm. Like tobacco and sugar, cotton was a big moneymaker, so cotton farming was huge in the South. This type of farming led to plantation owners having a lot of slaves. This was one of the reasons Southerners were against freeing the slaves. Business. Coal was called the black diamond of the South in the 18th century. In the 18th century, the one use for coal was for a blacksmith's fire. As the 19th century came around, coal was needed for the factories and railroads due to industrialization. So it was during the turn of the century when coal mining exploded into a successful business in many southern states. The blacksmith was a businessman who shaped the black metals of iron and steel into many tools needed in the South. He would hammer or smith the metal into shape, and that's why they called him a blacksmith. Boys learned from their fathers and experienced smiths by working with them as apprentices. Some boys lived with smiths while learning the business and traded home and food for labor. Schools. In the 1800s, the North had public schools, but it was not until after the Civil War when the South opened state or public schools for its children. The segregation of white and black children began during this time, as black children were not allowed to attend schools. Only the Quaker and Catholics made efforts to educate the black citizens of the southern states. Food. Eating back in the 18 and 1900s wasn't as easy as sticking something in the microwave. People had to work hard for their food, and it was often farm-hunted or caught by the family eating it. The different seasons determined the different kinds of food eaten. In summer, people would eat more fruits and vegetables than in the winter, when they ate more meats and preserved foods. The housewife spent most of her time cooking, preparing, and preserving foods. The men collected, hunted, or caught food. The average family meal was chicken or pork with soup and cornbread. Families ate their largest meal, dinner, in the afternoon, and they had a small snack or supper in the evening. Hunting. Hunting was important in the South during the 1800s because it was one of the main forms of food for the family. By the 1900s, farming became more of a sport for southern plantation owners. The plantation was often a habitat for the game people wanted to hunt, such as deer and duck. Game was not used just for food, but for materials like hide for hats and jackets. Rifles, bows, and traps were all used to kill animals.